Netflix just dropped Michael Jackson the verdict, and I need you to understand this documentary is not what you think it is. This is not a tribute. This is not a celebration of the biopic. Netflix looked at everything that happened with that movie and said, not so fast. Before y'all go crowning Michael Jackson a saint again, let us remind you what was actually going on. I sat through episode 1. I took my notes and I'm going to give you my honest, unfiltered reaction to everything because some of this I expected. Some of it genuinely gave me pause, and some of it made me more convinced than ever that Michael Jackson's real crime was not what they charged him with. His real crime was trusting the wrong people. Stay with me. Before I get into what's in this documentary, I need to tell you what I think the agenda is, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The Michael Jackson biopic just made over $500 million at the box office. The narrative around Michael was starting to shift. People were reinvesting in him again. The estate was winning. Paris Jackson was winning in court. The Castillo family got exposed. Things were trending in a positive direction for Michael's legacy. And then Netflix drops this. This documentary is not neutral. It is not balanced. From the jump, the framing, the people they chose to interview, the way they presented the information, it is designed to throw cold water on that momentum. That's my read. And I'm going to call it out as we go. Now, does that mean Michael was innocent? Does that mean everything in here is false? I don't know. I'm not saying either way. But what I am saying is watch the framing. Watch who they give the mic to. Watch what they chose to include and what they didn't. That matters. So the documentary starts in 1993 with a raid on Neverland Ranch, which they apparently referred to as Operation Target Neverland. Now, that name alone is suspicious to me, because a target implies you already decided the outcome before you even started. But the real center of the episode 1 is the Martin Bashir interview. And here's what you need to know about that interview if you don't already. But before we go any further, make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, and share this page. Click the link in the bio and also in the description if you'd like to show additional support to help grow this royal kingdom. Now back to the story. Michael Jackson saw Princess Diana's interview with Martin Bashir. He was a huge admirer of Diana, if you already know. He thought it went well, but what Michael did not do, and this is critical, was watch it in its entirety. Because if he had watched it, he would have seen how devastating that interview was for her image. But because he admired her, he trusted Bashir by association. That is Michael in a nutshell. He trusted based on admiration, not on investigation. Bashir's own words are damning, but not for Michael. Now, here's what stood out to me. Bashir admitted in this documentary that going into the interview, he already thought Michael's relationships with children were strange. He said that, his own words, I didn't make it up. So to me, you went into that interview with a predetermined conclusion. You were not there to tell Michael's story. You were there to confirm what you already believe. That, to me, sir, is not journalism. That is a clear setup. Bashir also said their approach going in was, and I'm paraphrasing, if we behaved appropriately and Michael liked us, things would happen. That gave me serious pause because that's the language of manipulation. Get him to trust you, lower his guard, then capture what you came here for. That moment changed everything. And he said towards the end of the interview, Michael volunteered to bring in a kid, who we later find out is Gavin Arvizo. And on camera, Michael told Bashir he allows kids to sleep in his bed. He said he'd turn on music, give them cookies with warm milk, and read a book, just a whole kiddie vibe. And the kid, Gavin, said on camera that Michael would say, if you love me, you'll sleep in my bed. Now, I want to be very careful here because this is where people jump to conclusions. Michael looked at Bashir and said, When you say bed, you're thinking something sexual and it's not. And here's my honest opinion on that. If Michael Jackson was guilty, if he knew what he was doing was wrong, why would he say that on camera? Why would he say it at all, knowing they were already allegations against him from 1993? Guilty people don't volunteer that information. They hide it. I believe, and this is just me, Michael genuinely did not think there was anything wrong with it because Michael Jackson was a man who was robbed of his childhood. He had that emotional experience and the worldview of a child in a lot of ways. He thought sharing his bed with kids was like a sleepover, pure, simple, no different than what children do at each other's houses. Now, was that naive? Absolutely. Was it a dangerous thing to do given who he was and what he had already been alleged to have done? 100%. But naive is very different from criminal. The kid in the Bashir interview, Gavin Arvizo, his family was struggling, allegedly, it was told. Sleeping on mattresses on the floor, using sheets as curtains. His father, David, the son had been diagnosed with cancer. Michael sent a gift basket to the hospital, a huge one. He brought the family to Neverland. The Arvizo family sent Michael pictures signed, "We love you. You fixed us when we were broken." Gavin's brother apparently had a nickname Michael allegedly gave him. They seemed genuinely grateful. Then the storm hit after the Bashir interview dropped, and the media went into a frenzy. Michael brought the Arvizo family back to Neverland, and according to testimony, he felt they would be safer there away from the media chaos. But Janet Arvizo allegedly told a family friend she wanted to leave the compound. The family was seen by a psychologist, the kids, who found no reasonable suspicion of any inappropriate behavior. A video was also recorded. The family on camera saying Michael never did anything inappropriate to the kids. That video was reportedly made as an insurance policy because at that point, Michael was becoming distrustful of the family. The prosecution's case and my issues with it, here's where it gets interesting to me. Gavin was interviewed by prosecutors and said Michael had touched him inappropriately. He also said Michael showed him explicit magazines kept in a black briefcase. My issue, he didn't bring up the briefcase on his own. From what was shown, the investigators led him there. And then, conveniently, when they raided Neverland, that briefcase was found. Now, Michael Jackson was a grown ass man. Adults have adult material in their homes. That's not a crime. And if you're guilty, if you're hiding something, wouldn't you remove that from your house? Wouldn't you clean the place out the moment charges were filed? Or the investigation started? The prosecution also claimed at some point they couldn't locate Michael after charges were filed, implying he was on the run. They said he was hiding in a villa wearing, get this now, a colorful moo having a wild, booze filled party with young German boys, and there were cigarette burns everywhere. I'm sorry. That does not even match the profile of the man we're talking about. That sounds like a story someone made up. That sounds like painting a picture specifically designed to make the worst possible version of this person. And according to the documentary itself, Michael voluntarily surrendered. He flew in on a private jet to a hangar in Santa Barbara and turned himself in. That is not what a guilty man on the run looks like, at least not to me. Here is what I genuinely believe after watching episode 1. Michael Jackson was not guilty of what they charged him with, but he was guilty of something. He was guilty of being dangerously naive about the kind of people who would use his generosity, his loneliness, and his childlike trust against him. He needed someone in his corner who did not automatically trust everyone who got close to him. He needed somebody skeptical, somebody who would pull him aside and say, "Hey, Michael, I know your heart is good, but you cannot let people into your orbit like this. You are not regular. You are Michael Jackson, and there are people in this world who will take full advantage and weaponized that. This makes me think of something LaToya Jackson said in an interview with Wendy Williams some time ago, right? She talked about how her ex-husband, I'm sorry, was able to take advantage of her because they were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses and taught to believe all people were inherently good. They were naive to the world, dangerously naive. I believe that was Michael's condition as well. He believed in the goodness of people. He was drawn to children because they gave him what adults never could: unconditional, uncomplicated love with no agenda. And that vulnerability was exploited. One more thing I noticed: there was a police file folder shown in the B roll of this documentary. On the tab, it said Jacko with $3 signs, not Jacko. And with the evidence of wrongdoing, $3 signs, make it make sense. And according to family friend Stacy Brown, while all of this was happening, y'all get this, Michael's brothers, particularly Jermaine, were more concerned with protecting the Jackson brand. We got to protect the Jackson brand than protecting their own brother. Jermaine allegedly said once this is all over, Michael said, we're going to do a tour. Your brother is fighting for his life and freedom, and the conversation is about a damn tour. That tells you everything you need to know about the environment Michael was operating in. He was surrounded by people with their own agendas. He had almost no one who was purely in his corner, except his parents and maybe his sisters. I want to end on something that I think deserves its own moment. There was a man named Vincent who was brought in to help handle the Arvizo family. He was introduced to Michael through his friend Frank Tyson, a man who had been close friends with Michael since they were both kids. No, since he was a kid and Vincent was a kid. I'm sorry. Vincent asked Frank directly, did anything weird ever happen between you and Michael when you were young? Frank said no, never. So Vincent believed in Michael's innocence. But then one night, Frank gave Vincent a Nike bag and asked him to hold it. Allegedly, something told Vincent to open it and, and document with the camera what was inside. He said he found magazines, and the items circled in those magazines were of children in compromising situations, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure you do. Frank's explanation to Vincent was that the materials were from a phase he went through personally. But Vincent, his own associate, his own guy, said he believed Frank was covering for Michael. I'm not going to tell you what to think about that. But what I am going to tell you is that this is all too much. And I'm going to tell you that episode 2 and 3 of this documentary exists for a reason, because the verdict at trial was not guilty. And Netflix is clearly trying to make sure you don't forget. And also why that verdict was so controversial. That's been my full breakdown of episode 1 of Michael Jackson, The Verdict. This is a very complex story. It was complex when it happened. It's still complex now. And the fact that Netflix dropped this right after a $500 million biopic is not an accident. That was on purpose. I'll be back with episode 2, and I want to know what you think. After seeing and hearing all of this in part 1, do you believe Michael Jackson was guilty? Do you believe he was set up? Or do you believe that the truth lives somewhere in the middle of all of this? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Before you go, if you made it this far, you are already part of the Royal community. Hit that subscribe button, like this video if I give you something to think about today. Share it with somebody who needs to see it. And drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and I try to respond. Also, if you would like to support this channel and see it grow, please check out my ebook, Prenups, Postnups, and Power Moves, a simple, honest guide to money, protection, and power in relationships. The link is in my Linktree in the bio, as well as I'll put it in the description. Your support through the comments, views, and everything have really been so amazing, and the support of purchasing this ebook will be the icing on the cake. Thank you all for everything, and until next time, stay crowned, Royals.